We'll call to order the regular Shasta County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, January 24th. We will start with our invocation by Pastor Andrew Calloway from Cow Creek Community Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by PFC Leonard. If you all would stand, please.
The Apostle Paul reminds the citizens of their duty and the government of their role when he writes, "For the government is a minister of God to you for good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid. For it does not bear the sword for nothing, for it is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath on the one who practices evil." Would you join me in a word of prayer? Great Father in heaven, you are the God of this universe. You are in control of all things and all people and all times and all seasons. Lord, you rise up leaders and you put them down. Lord, all who rule are established by you. You have put them there by your great power and for your good pleasure. They're appointed for the good of the people. Father, I ask for wisdom for these board members who will be making decisions that affect the citizens of Shasta County. I ask that you would give them wisdom on matters of health and education and safety and transportation and taking care of foster children. I pray that they would make decisions based on the public's interest and not their own personal gain. Let them uphold justice and maintain peace in Shasta County. I ask that those who govern would praise those who do good and protect these citizens. I ask that those who bear the sword would use it well and punish wickedness and so deter lawfulness. I pray for those who are bringing their grievances and questions before the board. I pray that they would respond well with the decision that these governing authorities will decide and give to them. And Father, I ask that the proceedings and decisions made at this meeting bring you all glory through the only Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Calloway and PFC Leonard. We appreciate doing that for us this morning. Before we get to the public comment period, I just wanted to alert anybody in the audience if you were unable to get an agenda. We ran out this morning, but there are some more coming down. They'll be placed either here or back there if you need one. So. The next item is the public comment period, open time. Persons wishing to address the board requested to fill our speaker request form prior to the beginning of the meeting. Pursuant to state law and board policy, no board discussion shall be held and no action shall be taken on non-agendized open time matters other than to receive the comments and, if deemed necessary by the board, to refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or to schedule the matter for a subsequent board agenda. I have two advance notices to speak, one from Mr. Gary Cadd and one from Patricia Heinzen. So, Mr. Cadd.
Cadd, and I am a resident of the County of Shasta. At your last meeting, when you were acting as the Shasta County Water Agency Board of Directors, I spoke concerning the Northern Sacramento Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Plan and my possible apprehensions regarding this non-governmental organization. One of the agency's directors mentioned that the water agency is under the Shasta County Public Works Director, and the director would be keeping an eye on this issue. I mentioned that the Public Works Director serves at the pleasure of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors and was told that that was incorrect and that the Public Works Director works under this Chief Administrative Officer. But you will see by looking at your monitors that I was correct in my statement. I'm showing, to start with, the front cover of the Shasta County personnel rules, which is a 339-page document. By moving forward to page 24 of this document, we can see that under section 6.11 is department heads. And then if we move to the next page, which would be page 25, we see section 6.11E. And 6.11E states the following department heads are appointed by the Board of Supervisors upon the recommendation of the county administrative officer and serve at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors. I'm speaking to one and two, but really I'm speaking just one at this moment. The Public Works Director serves at the pleasure of this board and not the county administrative officer, even though the county administrative officer, it's my understanding, conducts the Public Works Director's administrative review. I realize that under the Brown Act, this board cannot move at this meeting on this issue, but I'm asking the board to agendize this issue on their next regular scheduled meeting to put both 1 and 2 on this list under the Shasta County Chief Administrative Officer. And then this would be putting them under Section F, which Section F is the following department heads are appointed by the County Administrative Officer and serve at his/her pleasure, provided, however, and that their appointment and termination are ratified by the Board of Supervisors. So I think by making this move would give the people of the County of Shasta the accountability and the transparency we demand in our county government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gadd. Patricia Heinschen, correct?
Heinzen.
Thank you.
Thank you. My comments are not written and prepared. I want to comment about the integrated regional water management plan. There, if you are not aware, there have been several public workshops that have been held. I attended the one in Red Bluff, and I want you to know, if you don't already, that the public is not on board with what looks to be coming our way, which is control of every drop of water that we have access to, groundwater, and including septic tank, irrigation water for farming, ranching, and our yards. And this is all part, I believe, sincerely, it's part of losing our private property rights and also our sovereignty. And I just hope and pray that none of the County Board of Supervisors or the City Council is on board with this. I know, Mr. Moody, that you are on the Technical Advisory Committee. That would mean that of 18 members on the TAC, there's only one that represents our entire county. And I'm here to tell you, no one in that room was on board with what's coming. They say they have no written plan as yet. No one that I know of that voted for Prop 84 would endorse anything of the sort of ultimate control. It says that they have portrayed this whole action as being completely transparent and for our own good, and because we voted for Prop 84, and nobody in that room believed it. We do not want meters on our wells. We do not want every drop of water controlled. It's just not consistent with private property rights. And while you can't find that phraseology in the Constitution, every bit of our founding fathers knew and understood that that is a cornerstone of real freedom, is that we are able to keep the fruits of our labor. And this is not about power and control. This is about our own personal freedoms. And I thank you.
Yeah, I just want to state for the record, I do not sit on the Technical Advisory Committee. I sit on the Board of Directors. So just for correct information, there are 18 members on that board. There are 3 representatives from Shasta County that sit on that board. There's actually 3 representatives from each of the counties that sit on that board. I don't want to belabor the point here a little bit, but Patricia, I certainly would invite you to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk with you about this. There's a lot of information I think that you may not have. I don't think we're going in the direction that you believe we're going, so but I'm happy to talk with you, and let's see if we can't get some more information out there. So please give me a call at my office. Moving now to the regular calendar, R1 Board Matters. Consider adoption of a proclamation which designates February 18th, 2012 as Army National Guard Deployment Day in Shasta County. Supervisor Baugh.
Thank you, Chair Modi. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, this is a pleasure to present this on behalf of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and then we'll receive a presentation as well, and I'll come down and meet you at the podium and present it personally at that point. Shasta County Board of Supervisors proclamation. I'm just going to hold off a minute while
these concerns.
While all the folks are leaving as we're presenting something to our veterans. Just as they're leaving, we're making a presentation to those who will be leaving and serving our country in Afghanistan and laying their lives on the line. I guess I've seldom seen such rudeness from people that purport to care about our community and our folks here. This is a presentation of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, a proclamation, Army National Guard Deployment Day, February 18, 2012. Whereas the National Guard, I'm going to pause a minute just to gather my thoughts here. Let me start again. Whereas the National Guard 132nd Multi-Role Bridge Company, MRBC, is based in Redding, California. And whereas the theme for the National Guard is always ready, always there. And whereas the National Guard 132nd MRBC is being deployed to Afghanistan on February 18, 2012. And whereas the deploying service members have courageously answered the call to service. And whereas the Shasta County Board of Supervisors wishes to express their gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the service members and their families. And whereas the Shasta County Board of Supervisors encourages the citizens of Shasta County to reaffirm their patriotism and their allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Now therefore be it resolved that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims February 18, 2012 as Army National Guard Deployment Day in Shasta County, urging all citizens to honor the sacrifices made by the brave men and women who are being deployed to Afghanistan on February 18, 2012. And this is signed by Leonard Modi, Chairman of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors. I would gladly move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Dan, you have a presentation you'd like to make at this time. We'll welcome you to the podium, and then I'll come down at your conclusion and present this in person on behalf of the board. And I also believe we have a camera. If we'd like to maybe gather you and some of your folks, we'd love to have a photo with you. It's a privilege to have you here, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors, and thank you for everybody showing up today. Again, my name is Dan Dorsey, and I found out about the Guard leaving back in April, and I wanted to be involved with the process. I myself I'm a retired captain with CAL FIRE, and I know what it is like to be gone for long periods of time. I joined the Family Readiness Group out of Redding here, and with Annette, she's back over here, she'd raise her hand. She's in charge of it, and so working with her, I found out more about it. These men and women, and there's going to be approximately about 150 plus leaving for Afghanistan. Now, you might ask, what they do here. How long has the Guard been here in Redding? Well, they've been here forever, and they have a very unique role. They're only one, I believe, of 7 in the nation that build bridges. These are the portable type bridges. That's why it's called the Multi-Role Bridge Company. And they have two specific type bridges they built. It's the old type Bailey Bridge, like they used in World War II. It's like an erector set. You build it on one side and you push it across to the other side. It's very unique. I actually helped build a couple of these things when I was with the department. Another type of bridge they build is called a ribbon bridge. We would call it a pontoon bridge, but it's a very unique system that they can deploy very fast and set up a bridge on water or across a span. When their role in Afghanistan is going to be very simple. It's going to be repair bridges that are the Bailey type bridges or the pontoon bridges. They're going to replace bridges, and they're going to be moving them. If we all know, hopefully next year there's going to be a drawdown in Afghanistan, and so you might have a commander saying, well, I like this bridge here, but now I want it over here. So they're going to run out and take the bridge and put it over here, and that's going to be their role. They're with an engineering company, a battalion, and so they also, I hope, will be helping out with the local schools and the infrastructure of the towns that they're stationed at. Some of them will be at a main base. Some of them will be at forward bases. And so they're going to be out there all over the place. Their role is very unique in the fact that they will be carrying weapons and they will protect themselves and will fight. But their main role is to build and repair bridges. From what my understanding is that when they go out on a mission, that the Marines are going to be protecting them. And if you talk to any old Marine, any old vet, he says, well, that's the way it should be. That the Marines are protecting the Army. So, but that's what I've heard. And during this whole process, I've been able to meet a lot of people throughout Siskiyou County and Shasta County. I met a gentleman up in Siskiyou County that is an old Marine, a very old Marine vet. He's on oxygen. He hit the beach at Iwo Jima. He was one of the first in the Higgins boats that hit the beach in Iwo Jima. That's pretty tough. And he's still up walking around. And when I talked to him about this guard leaving, he says, well, I wish I could go. And yeah, that would be nice, but these are the best trained people that I've seen. We had an opportunity in October to go out to Whiskeytown Lake. They train out there all the time, putting up their ribbon bridges. And it's very unique, this whole system, how they put it together. And the reason they want the ribbon bridges over there, one of the reasons, is because in the wintertime in Afghanistan, I guess there could be big floods, and so that's why they have the pontoons or the ribbon bridges. I was out there and I was watching them put this whole thing together. And then we broke for lunch. I was going, okay, so what are we having for lunch? Well, they started breaking out these MREs, and if you don't know, this is a meal ready to eat. There's some people in here that know what an MRE is. I happen to know too good what an MRE is, working with CAL FIRE. My first ration was a C ration from World War II, and that was in the 70s. And I think I personally finished every C ration and K ration from World War II in Korea. Because after the wars, what they did, they had all these rations, and they gave them to the Forest Service and CDF. And so, believe me, I've ate 30 years of rations. As the clerk will be showing, each one of you will get an MRE.
Wait a minute, Larry, you said you were bringing lunch in. Is this lunch?
Okay. Okay, and this is actually, if you read it, I guess I don't know, on the front it says this is a tailored operational training meal. So you actually have to train to get used to eating an MRE, I guess. Oh, man. But in all actuality, this is a meal that they eat when they're in training. This is not an actual MRE, a combat MRE. That one has a few more things in it, and mostly toilet paper. But everything you need for one meal is in this bag right here. And so they started breaking out these MREs, and they started eating them. And I'm looking at it going, this is not right. These men and women are going to be deployed very shortly, and they're going to be representing us. And so I had a hard time with that. And so I went home. I live up in Mount Shasta, and I was thinking, what could I do about this? They were 10 miles from Reading. And I thought of one organization that's always been around Reading. I thought of the Asphalt Cowboys. And so what I did, I called up Fred Corelli, talked to him. And I said, this is what's going on. They're eating MREs right here at Reading training, and they're going to be gone, they're going to be leaving for Afghanistan in February. And he basically said, there's no way in hell they're going to eat another MRE. And so what they did, there was another training session out there January 7th of this year. Fred Corelli, every one of the Asphalt Cowboys showed up out there, and they put on a barbecue that wouldn't quit for these men and women, which was very, very nice. We had Sheriff Bashinko, is that, I keep on pronouncing, he was there. Retired Sheriff Jim Pope was there. Siskiyou County Sheriff John Lope was there. Supervisor Les Ball was there with his wife Susie. And it was very unique. It was very nice. A lot of the National Guard didn't know they were coming out. And we had a few extra donations from Mr. Webb up at Rayleigh's here. He threw in the cakes. There was some financial donations. And they were able to give them a tri-tip lunch, barbecue out there. And the weather, we were always leery about the weather because here in Northern California, we're digging out of snow one day and putting sunscreen on the next day. But it turned out to be a very nice day. And what was so unique is the Asphalt Cowboys didn't know what the Guard does. And here, and I know all of you have seen the Asphalt Cowboys with their yellow shirts on. They're all lined up on the bank watching these young men and women deploy these ribbon bridges. They were just in awe. They had no idea what they did and the precision and how it's done. And the captain, Captain Ricks, is their company commander. He saw this and he walked down and he made a big mistake. He said, "Would you like to go for a ride on this pontoon bridge?" And you had to get out of their way. It was like a herd of cattle going down there to this pontoon bridge. All the cowboys jumped on, and then Fred Corelli just got out of the hospital. He had some work done on his knee, got pneumonia, but he was there. And he crawled on top of this pontoon bridge, and they took him for a little ride out on Whiskey Town Lake, and they just thought that was the neatest thing. And then when they went back to the Reading Guard unit, because they were being timed, because they have to, their performance is very, very regulated, and they had to meet specific time limits on how to deploy this ribbon bridge of the two companies. They weren't talking about their times. They were talking about the barbecue and the spirit that the North State showed for the Guard, and that was really neat. Well, this proclamation, we actually got a little bit of heads up on it. Supervisor Baugh, he had a copy of it, and when the Guard was in formation, he actually read it to him there. And it was only a few of them because there was about 120 or so out there. There's actually 150 or more leaving. And I think the best presentation you can give is to take that to the deployment ceremony, which will be held at the Reading Civic Auditorium on February 18th at 2 p.m. And this way it could be read before everybody and their families, and I think that would be really nice. Thank you very much. This one's for you.
You know, talking about those Bailey bridges, they used one on Highway 99 last fall down at Derryville to go around the bridge that Blaisdell was building there. So they're used all over.
The Bailey Bridge, in fact,
fantastic.
up in Siskiyou County, I know that county pretty good, there's a couple of Bailey bridges up there that's been there for 10 or 15 years.
We have one at Eastman Lake over in eastern Shasta County.
Exactly, yeah. And so they're very unique, and so they have a very unique mission that they're going to perform. And I think it's a good mission. And I think one of the things that I can, if I could, is everywhere that you go within the next year, if anybody asks about the Guard and when they're leaving and stuff, please pass on the information. If they want to send a box to a soldier, if they want to send anything over there, maybe fill it full of school supplies or something like that that they can give out to the local school, please contact Annette back here with the National Guard. That's very important. No, and what would be really nice is if all you in your meetings that you're going to have between now and February 18th, if you all get together, sit around and maybe eat that, and then you can tell them how the MRE was, but there's only one requirement when you eat the MRE, is it's very nice to have a big bottle of Tabasco sauce on hand and maybe some toilet paper, but that's just from experience.
That may just come under the subject of too much information. I'm not hearing this one on at all, if we can turn it on. Thank you. Very good. I do want to mention, and could I get any members of the 132nd to go ahead and come on up here? I'd like to make the presentation to you as well, if you're here, dressed or not. I have to mention that Dan's father and I served on the Anderson City Council many years ago together, so it's a pleasure to reconnect with you again, Dan, and Dan went to school with my wife in Anderson. I want to just add a little thought as to why the emotion as I was reading this. And I have to tell you, it was very, personally, it affected my life to stand in front of you, men and women, so many standing at attention, tall and proud, as you received the presentation from me on behalf of the members of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors. And as the captain brought you to attention and you all in unison did your whatever it is, or whatever came out of you, I want to tell you that echoed off of the natural amphitheater of the property surrounding the lake out there, and it literally reverberated down through my body, and I thought, oh Lord, let me not shake as I'm presenting this proclamation, but I want to tell you how proud we are of you all as a community. We thank you for your willingness to stand and to stand in harm's way if necessary. We appreciate the calling. We appreciate your response. This proclamation I present to you this day on behalf of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and it comes not only from us, it comes from a community, it comes from a state and a nation that are proud of your service, and we want to tell you that our hearts and our prayers will be with you as you serve, and just say to you, God bless you, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Can we go to the center? I'm going to ask the board members if you guys will come down. We'll take a photo together. We'd love to have that. I can tell you that other young lady does a better job than you.
Can you make a comment? I just want to say, we have a grandson for 7 months. They were after he came back. But while he was over there, he was served hard MREs for the longest time. That was the common thing. We do not treat our troops. They're probably better than C&K rations.
Sure. Sure.
Thank you.
If I can, just one more thing, actually. I'm going to give back because this is very important that you present this to Captain Ricks, the company commander, at the departure ceremony. And also, on the MREs, one last thing before I run. Inside, you will find a heater. It's a green bag, and that will actually heat up your meal. The only thing is, there's some chemicals inside there. Please do not, no, don't eat it, yeah. Don't take it on an airplane, please, a commercial airplane. You will have a bad day with the local police, the FBI, and probably Homeland Security. And if you are stopped, I didn't give it to you. So I'm going to give this back to Les.
I honestly think we're going to eat these, huh, Dan?
Oh, I would love for you guys to eat this before the departure ceremony. I hope all of you show up out there. Up in Mount Shasta or in Siskiyou County, we're going to have our own departure ceremony up there for the ones that are leaving there. But everybody will be here, and I think it's very important that you show up, and maybe you can even tell them how it tastes, the MRE taste. Thank you again.
Thank you for the invitation. I think I'm going to make a motion that Glenn eat his first and then tell us. You want to second that motion? Second.
I don't know.
Okay, the next item we have is R2, which I believe has been pulled. Is that correct, Mr. Lees?
Yeah, actually, we did receive a call from the Friends of the Intermountain Library yesterday afternoon asking that we pull this to a date to be determined later. They had some difficulty being here today. So we will accommodate them at their next request.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They may be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested person may request an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and consideration. And I have one advance request from Mr. Supervisor Kehoe to pull item C12. Are there any others?
I move approval, the remainder.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar other than C12. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item C12, Supervisor Kehoe.
Thank you, Chairman Modi. Item C12, ladies and gentlemen, contemplates an agreement with Fall River Mills Airport Fuel Services Agreements. I've moved this to provide everyone with a fuller explanation of what we're doing at the airport. Good morning, Mr. Minter.
Good morning, Supervisor Kehoe, Chairman Modi, members of the board. Pat Minturn, Public Works Director. Before you today is an item to make further arrangements for fuel service at the Fall River Mills Airport. As you're aware, the county has long operated the Fall River Mills Airport. It's a 5,000-foot runway now. It's got fueling facilities. In 1998, the county replaced the underground tanks with an above-ground tank. It's a 12,000-gallon tank. The county owns the tank. The county owns the fuel within the tank. But the county has had lease arrangements with the vendor, the World Fuel, and they operate the card system, the card key system. It's because it's an unmanned facility. Our county crews visit the site periodically, check the fuel, take care of other issues at the airport. But it's basically an unmanned facility. So if somebody flies in from Los Angeles, they're able to ascertain beforehand that fuel is available. If fuel isn't available, the county issues a NOTAMs, a notice to pilots. But so folks know that there's fuel there. They land, they can fuel their plane, and move on to their next destination. The fueling arrangements have been with World, the exact wording is with World Fuel Services, Inc. And they have long been supplying us with fuel from Exxon, and that's what our current fuel is in there. And in October, they notified us that they were going to switch to ConocoPhillips, and they were going to, they wanted to have our authorization to do so, and that involves changing stickers. It's very important, the brand of the fuel. They take great pride in their mark. And so they sent us their agreement, and we looked at it, and we had a number of comments. We sent it on to County Council, and there were some issues, and we wanted to discuss that with them. And they basically said, you will sign this immediately, because they only gave us 30 days, or else they will shut off fueling services. And we said, well, we need to think about this, and we need to work out these issues. And so we found ourselves cut off effective November 15th. Actually, in November, the final date of service was the 30th of November. And so we've got fuel up there now. We can manually operate it, but without an agreement with World, we cannot dispense it through the credit card dispenser. We were going to issue a request for proposals. We don't sell much fuel this time of year. We thought it wouldn't be a problem. We issued a NOTAMs saying that fuel is not available, and we were prepared to issue a request for proposals, but that would be a several-month process. And so folks up there have expressed a lot of concern. They feel that we really need to have this fuel available. The only way to make it available quickly is to enter into this contract, apparently, with World. World has made some modifications to the agreement that we had requested. They had not honored all of our requests, but they have somewhat been responsive. And so in totality, staff recommends that the board enter into this agreement in good faith, stay with this agreement for up to a year, and take delivery of 10,000 gallons, which is about a year's supply. And then down the road, we'll figure out what we're going to do long-term for fuel at the airport. It's been a good arrangement with World over the years. They've maintained their equipment, but this contract, there are some issues. So that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
I have Mr. Haas first, followed by Mr. Baugh.
The fuel is available now?
The fuel is in the tank, and we can manually dispense it if we go to the site. It's not available if you land at the airport with a credit card at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
How soon will that take place?
We have an agreement now from WorldCom. We will, assuming the board chooses to go forward, probably within 2 weeks, I would anticipate the system will be turned back on.
Good, because I've had a few calls. You're aware of that. Supervisor Kehoe has too. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor Ball?
Thank you, Chair Modi. I appreciate it. You mentioned that during the wintertime there usually is not much of a need, and we realize that, but I do want to thank you for getting on this and moving forward. Always better to be prepared and have the ability to serve rather than being caught short in an emergency. So thank you and your department for moving forward, Mr. Minturn. And I do have to say one more thing that warms my heart this morning, to see another man who has to adjust these to be able to read. So it's commiserating there. Thank you.
Well, I'll move approval,
Second.
and I'm very happy that it's being taken care of.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Minturn.
Thank you.
That concludes our consent calendar. Moving on to our regular calendar, R3, administrative or legislative update and supervisors' reports.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lees?
Thank you, Chairman Modi and members of the board. Included in your packet today is a letter that we are asking the board to consider. This Shasta County Board of Supervisors have taken a strong stand against the state responsibility area fire fees that the Governor Brown has proposed to help to balance the state deficit. We believe on all kinds of fronts that it's the wrong thing to do, the least of which that we believe it contradicts Prop 26. And the first time this fee gets put into place where someone actually receives a bill, we know that there will be a challenge in court on it. That aside, Assemblymember Kevin Jeffries has co-authored legislation with State Senator Doug LaMalfa to repeal this particular action and to put it into law that eliminates the state responsibility area fire fee. And so this morning I'm asking the board to consider, in light of our previous stance on this particular issue, I'm asking the board to support us going forward with this letter to our legislators and the governor, telling them that this is not the right way to go, and to support Kevin Jeffries' bill that actually will eliminate this state responsible area fee, fire fee.
Consensus or?
Or motion?
Probably a motion. But yeah, a motion on
Move
this.
approval then. I
Second.
think it's very important that we do this.
Moved by Supervisor Hawes, second by Supervisor Ball. Any other discussion?
Yes, just, and I did not verify this with the agency, so subject to change. I would just note that I came up with the fact that the Oakland Hills fire was possibly the most expensive fire in CDF's history, and yet I cannot find anywhere where this fee would be imposed upon those living within that area. So to say that this is an unfair tax, it certainly is, and I just want to make note of that, that we have to be on our guard every step of the way. Thank you for bringing this.
Yes.
All in favor of them?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
To bring out more agendas.
So we'll go on to, anything else, Mr. Lees, from you? Is that it? That's all I have. Okay. Supervisor's report, we'll start with Mr. Kehoe.
Thank you, Chairman Modi. I have two reports, but I'm also going to make a personal observation, and I very rarely do that. Item number R1 on our agenda this morning was consider adopting a proclamation which designates February 18th, 2012 as Army National Guard Deployment Day. Now, this assembly room was packed with people, almost SRO. Yet, after the public comment period, 50 to 60 people got up and walked out the door and didn't stay for this agenda item. I consider that unpatriotic and insulting to the men and women that serve in our armed forces. It was not our best day. Now, let me go on.
Are we allowed to say something to that?
Yesterday, I attended the RABA board meeting, and I called to your attention the annual system performance review. This will be presented to a joint meeting of RABA and RTPA. It's available upstairs for your perusal. I think there's some interesting information here, and it'll give you a very clear picture of what's going on the fixed route system, the demand response system, and also the Bernie Express service. So I call that to your attention. Yesterday, I attended a meeting that was conducted by Fred Grant. And the purpose of the meeting was local government involvement in federal and state agencies. And it was an excellent presentation, and Mr. Grant characterized the difference between cooperation and coordination and made during the course of the workshop the following observations. If a local jurisdiction is interested in establishing a coordinating committee, you have to do several things. Number one, you have to identify which agencies that we wish to participate with. For example, BLM, Park Service, BOR, Forest Service. You got to narrow your focus a little bit. Secondly, you have to identify what subject matters you want to coordinate about. For example, recreation, timber, fire. You have to have a well-defined scope. Number three, you have to establish from a county perspective implementation standards. Four, it's imperative that if you establish a committee, it falls under the aegis of the Ralph M. Brown Act, so you have to look at some cost-benefit calculations. You're going to have to staff it. You're going to have public reports, and you have to establish the relationship between the observations that the committee is making and its relationship to policy. Personally, I think there is value in establishing such a committee. I think we have to look at it very carefully. I'm not interested, from my perspective, in formulating a committee dedicated to confrontation and acrimony. Rather, I am supportive of forming a committee of service-minded, knowledgeable, dedicated people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do a job of work for the community. And I've got some ideas on models, and so, Mr. Chairman, maybe sometime in the future we can agendize this, we have an in-depth discussion and move forward. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Keogh. Mr. Baum.
Thank you, Chair Modi. I'll segue onto your thought, Supervisor Kehoe. I applaud you for your interest in placing that on the agenda at a future date, and I would support that wholly. I think it's a discussion that is, the time has come for it, so thank you for bringing it to our attention this morning. I'd like to share several things. Participated last week in the Martin Luther King Day bell ringing ceremony at Old City Hall, and I want to note that it was not only a celebration for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but also a celebration with our local treasurer, Isaac Lowe, who turned 90 this year and told us publicly that it would be her last year, but you know what, I don't really believe that. I think we'll have her saying that on her 100th birthday as well, but I do appreciate Isaac. It was an honor to be there with her once again. And I'll move to another type of bell ringing. The totals are finally in from the the friendly competition between the City of Reading employees and Shasta County employees in support of the Salvation Army bell ringing. As it turns out, the City of Reading, with their magnificent fire department, who were able to raise a lot of money, aced us by about $300 this year. Now, folks, there's still hope that Shasta County will someday get its name on that trophy. I was able to put my business card on it, and that's the only way that we're probably ever going to get it on there. But thank you to the Shasta County employees and to the city employees. The winners are those in our community that are the recipients of these finances, and so we appreciate all of the money that went into the kettles over the season. Now, there was a gentleman's bet between Kurt Starman leading the city and between Lesbaugh leading the county in this friendly annual competition. The gentleman's bet this year was that since both of us participate in the Shasta Women's Refuge Walk-a-Mile event, and this year's event is scheduled on April 7, that whoever did not raise the most money would wear their high heels to the other's board meeting. So as a man of honor, and keeping my promise, I have worked with Mr. Starman. We'll schedule that. I will make a presentation thanking the Reading City Council and the City of Reading employees for their efforts with my high heels there. And I will also use it as an opportunity to publicly say we want to invite you to April 7th, the Walk-a-Mile event kicking off in the downtown promenade at 10 o'clock. And I am the co-chair of that event this year. Anyone who would like to participate in that event, please give me a call. I would love to sign you up, and I'd like to talk to you about hosting perhaps your own team this year. The next thing I want to mention is I participated in 2 days of meetings at Sacramento for the Regional Council of Rural Counties. Of significance, there are many things of significance, but of special importance, we had Michael Cohen there. He's with the Department of Finance representing the governor's office, and we were able to personally ask him questions in regard to the budget, and a lot I could say about that, but here's actually, I think, the sentiment that most of us in the room, and you've got 31 member agencies, so you've got 31 county supervisors representing 31 boards like this, and I think most of us heard this. Instead of supporting businesses and trying to raise dollars from hiring people, folks that are earning a living and spending money, it seems that the goal of the budget is to increase taxes, fees, penalties, and fines, and hope to raise the money that way. I was, needless to say, fairly disappointed that that was the method of how we're going to repair California's budget. I want to make this available. This is the board report from RCRC to fellow members on the board. It'll be upstairs.
No control of spending, huh? They just keep spending it, and then they got to worry about how they're going to collect the money to pay it.
Well, it seems like even though we have more money available, we still need more money than the more money, and that's, yeah, spending more and spending more and spending more. Yes, Supervisor Hawes, that seemed to be our conclusion, and there didn't seem to be any receptiveness to any other thoughts, period. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hartman? Did they take up all your time?
No, I just,
Thank you, Bodie.
and beyond the disappointment I felt in the lack of respect for the members of the National Guard that we were honoring today. I think it's really disappointing that this whole group of people that were here to express their views, which we all welcome, but to express their views in what they see as this board not caring about their best interests or the community, or not doing our jobs, and they couldn't even stay to hear these very important board comments that we've made. And I
don't think half of them realize that, because I didn't. I almost got it walked out. And when the National Guard was done,
They walked out, and you didn't say anything about that. When the other group walked out, you didn't say
Hey,
anything about that.
excuse me.
You're very
Excuse me.
I'm just
This is
would
the-
like
this
to
is our time.
encourage people to come to these board meetings and to stay and to hear what we do, and maybe, sure, we're not going to make everybody happy all the time, obviously, but maybe
Hear us out.
hear what we do, see what we do, and be a part of our community and our board, and maybe instead of of fighting, we can accomplish more for the betterment of our county.
Supervisor Haas?
Well, I would hope that some that left didn't really notice the agenda item. I would hope that, because
You never had the agendas.
yeah, there wasn't enough agendas to go around, I know, so maybe some of them didn't know about it. But anyway, I attended the dedication of this brand-new Swede Creek Bridge yesterday, and it is beautiful. Mr. Lees was there, Pat and his crew were there, and just a phenomenal job, and we keep doing that around the county, and we keep making our roads safer. So that's one of our charges, and we're taking that at heart and getting it done, so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. And I'll report that I attended the Sarah Sac Valley EMS board meeting, and the report's upstairs if anyone wants to review it. We're still proceeding forward with integrating all the needs that are here in Shasta County. I will tell you that they will be scheduling a board meeting here in Reading on May 11th. That's a Friday. It'll be at 1 o'clock. I believe it'll be in their office in the Enterprise area, but I'll confirm that as we get closer. But it's an opportunity for anybody who would like to, from the board or the public, would like to attend the EMS board meeting to see what's occurring there. As you know, we currently have our meetings in Rockland. I also attended the Northern California Water Association. They will be having their annual meeting on March 9th in Chico at the Sierra Nevada facility. I also asked the director of NACWA to come and make a presentation before this board within the next couple of months, so he'll be coordinating that with some other business he has up here, and it'll be a chance for us to hear directly from him as to what they're trying to accomplish and moving forward, and that'd be a great chance to be updated on that information. I just wanted to remind the public that there's a RTPA board meeting today at 4 o'clock at the Reading City Council chambers. And also, I had the opportunity to attend the Addicted Offender Program graduation. Also was attended by Supervisor Kehoe, Supervisor Baugh, and Mr. Lees was there. It's an opportunity where the individuals in our county who have had addiction to drug and alcohol go through a very extensive program. This particular was about 21 months, and 6 individuals completed the program. Eilena Barrow, Raymond Bird, Savannah McCoy, Donna Miller, Ashley McCain, and Julie Pico. It was pretty heartwarming. I know you've all been to them before and stuff, but to hear these people who have had their lives turned upside down and destroyed by drugs and alcohol actually go through a process that's far more effective, I think, than just the Prop 36 stuff or the things where they just throw them into prison, but they actually hold them accountable for their actions and help them recover and get away from those addictions. It was very moving to see their successes. And the last thing I'll comment on, which I'll do briefly, but there's been some discussion about the Northern Sac Valley Integrated Regional Water Management Board. There is some misinformation out there, quite frankly. This board consists of 6 counties, used to be 4 counties. It was a regional planning group that was put together for water concerns. They expanded it to 6 counties, Shasta County being one of them. The point being is that with a larger voice, a larger group, we'd have a stronger voice in Sacramento when it deals with water issues. We've expressed it here many times in this board, our concerns about the South coming for our water. We recognize that as being one of the biggest issues that's going to face us in the future. It's not going to go away. We have to be united in our efforts. It's a public board in the sense that it has representation from each of the 6 counties, 3 members from each county. In our case, it's myself, Councilman Larry Farr from Shasta Lake City, and Stan Wanberg, who's the executive director of the Anderson Cottonwood Irrigation District, and also Missy McCarthy is an alternate, and I believe Les Baugh is an alternate for me if I can't make it. The meetings are held in public. They follow all the Brown Act requirements. They've been held throughout all 6 counties. You've had an opportunity to attend. I think that what I heard today is this belief that this board is going to take control of everybody's water and their water rights and what can occur. That is not true. They don't have the authority to do that. This is a planning board to help regional efforts plan projects that can receive state and federal funding for water projects. There's no way that this group is going to come to Shasta County or Red Bluff, City of Red Bluff, or City of Reading, or anybody else and say, you shall do this or you shall do that. They don't have that authority. It's just not on the, so it's just, some people are spreading misinformation. And I am open to anybody who wants to call me and talk about this and get some correct information, please do so. We'll move on now to R4, which is the closed session announcement. We'll be recessed for closed session to have a consult with legal counsel regarding a existing litigation with Reverge El Selmo. We'll also have a conference legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, and then also we'll be meeting with our labor negotiations, negotiators to talk about our labor contracts. At the conclusion of this closed session, reportable action, if any, will be reported in open session. We're going to recess now from the board meeting and move to the Air Pollution Control Board, and I'll pass the gavel to Mr. Baugh, who is currently the chair of that group.
We'll call the meeting to order, and the first item of business is the election of chair and vice chairman for 2012.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the appointment of Supervisor Modi as chair and Supervisor Hartman as vice chair.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes unanimously. I'll return the gavel to Chair Modi.
Thank you, Supervisor Baugh. Next item is public comment period. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. Pursuant to the Brown Act, action or board discussion cannot be taken on open time matters other than to receive comments, and if deemed necessary, refer them to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule for a future meeting. Do we have anybody who wants to speak during the public comment period? Please come forward and identify yourself for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Chuck Knight. I'm new to these boards, and I was not planning on speaking, but from what I've seen here, I've heard a couple comments from the first gentleman, and I can't read your names, the print's too small. I'm with the Tea Party, obvious, and it was mostly Tea Party people that walked out, or a lot of them were Tea Party after CAD spoke. My first observation is Nutty Mott, you, the speaker. When Gary CAD was speaking, you were very rude, very disrespectful. You paid no attention to him. Your mind's already made up of whatever he said. Whether he's right or not, he went through a list on the schedules, and apparently the previous something happened, and he was trying to correct something, and it sounded like from the forums you are responsible for the committee he was talking about. But that's just my observation. The board said it was, yeah, and you said it was rude when they left, but every group that was here, the military, and I respect the military more than probably most of you. When they walked out, you did not pay them any disrespect for leaving. It seems like the trend is you come in, you present your agenda, then you leave. Every group, the other groups talked about the airport. You were disrespectful, or you were not disrespectful to them when they walked out. It was a small group. I find this it's not pleasant. You guys aren't respectful. That's the only thing I can say. We did not have the agenda before, not enough for everybody. But that's you, a lady, I can't read your name. You made a comment about the first group leaving, and I find that be consistent in your disrespectfulness. If you're going to disrespect one group for leaving early, disrespect all the others for leaving early. But it seems like the agenda people do say their part and then get up and leave. And that's probably not the right way to do it. You should stay and listen to all of it. So that's
Thank you. Thank you. I just follow up by saying you're correct that, you mentioned that maybe your first time is here. It is true that most times when we have consent items or things like that people may be here to talk about, and if those items are approved, that they leave. But pretty much on a regular basis, for the beginning of the meetings when we have presentations to different groups, pretty much everybody stays for that part. So that their leaving today was unique compared to most of our meetings. Just want to follow up with your comment. Thank you.
Every group left.
No, sir. You had your open time. The next item on the consent, or is the consent calendar.
Move approval.
Well, let me just real quick. Following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, interested person may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar for later discussion. I do have a request from Mr. Kehoe to remove C5. Are there any others?
I move approval of the consent calendar as distributed to the board and members of the public.
Is that minus C5?
Yes, sir.
A second?
So moved and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item C5, Mr. Kehoe.
Thank you. I'm moving this across just so the board can get a fuller explanation of what is contemplated by this agenda item.
Supervisor Kehoe, Mr. Chairman, members of the Air Pollution Control Board, my name is Ross Bell. I'm the Air Quality District Manager. The Shasta County Air Quality Management District has operated the Carl Moyer program for, well, 7 or 8 years now, at least with in its current form. And as we've been doing the program, in the middle of the decade, it was fairly easy to get projects and replace engines. As we've moved into the current economic climate, the prospect of getting projects for engine replacements has dwindled. A typical Carl Moyer project will involve a $100,000 engine replacement on a piece of equipment. The owner of that equipment is expected to provide approximately 20% of that cost, and the Carl Moyer project will provide the other 80%. As the economy has deteriorated, it has become harder and harder to get applicants to commit to that and then to commit to the operation of the engine, typically during the next 5 years as the project goes on. So as we have accumulated money from the state in the form of Carl Moyer project money, we have begun to experience a backlog. We have more money than we can dole out, so to speak, to the applicants. And so there currently is probably about $300,000 that is available to any owners of construction equipment or agricultural pumps, diesel pumps that would like to apply for a Carl Moyer grant, and then that engine or pump can be upgraded to the latest standards for diesel engines. And so that money is currently available, and each time the district receives a Carl Moyer grant, we do have 2 years to expend those funds, and if we don't, then the money goes back to the state and into the general fund. And so the item before you on the consent item is to utilize the California Air Pollution Control Officer's Rural Assistance Program that pools this money with several other districts that are having trouble spending it, and then it can be used in multi-district projects. And the Shasta County District has utilized this money a couple of times, and we've been able to get projects that were actually implemented in Shasta County, but were often used in other counties, mostly in the rural areas and in the Sacramento Valley.
Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Bell. Relative to the resolution, clause number 1, authorizes the district to designate the Carl Moyer Program Year 14 funds, fiscal years 11 and 12, 12 and 13, in the amount of $200,000 to Rural District Assistance Program. Well, does that mean that we're going to be exporting local dollars that have been allocated to Shasta County to other areas?
That could happen, yes. The district will have funds available. Like I say, we already have about $350,000 of funds available. The other item on the consent calendar is a rural assistance program item that we have in eastern Shasta County that won't be utilized in Shasta County. There's only a 5% utilization in Shasta County. So that $96,000 project will be, the engine will be installed in Shasta County at a dealer here, but the rural assistance program will provide the funds for that.
The other question I had is, if we designate $200,000 to rural district assistance programs, is there a local Shasta County match associated with those dollars, or will the host county have to come up with a match?
There is no match with that $200,000. No,
Okay,
we do not provide that. When we do a project under the Rural Assistance Program, there is administrative funding that goes along with it, and typically that's about $5,000 per project.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Supervisor Haas?
I just wanted to bring up the fact that some of these newer, newer engines don't, I mean, they burn more diesel. So I don't understand, I think they need to perfect them a little more. If they got them perfected to where they should be, I think this would really be a going thing. People would be grabbing them right and left. But with the price of diesel the way it is, and you're in business trying to make money, you hate to spend all this money and that put more fuel in your equipment to do the same work. That's what I see with the program, because the efficiency level is not there yet.
That's correct. The engines are getting better, but
Yeah,
the
they're not there yet.
retrofits that are required, and Carl Moyer program in many instances does require a retrofit to go along with the new engine, and that's where you can really see the drop-off in efficiency.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will now adjourn the Air Pollution Control Board, and we will be in recess for closed session.